There's only one of you, yet there are countless hackers and threats to your computer. They come from all corners of the world.
How can you keep your computer safe against attacks, which could cost you a lot of time and money? Let's compute this.
Thor Schrock, the CEO of Schrock Innovations. Good to see you, Thor.
Welcome back.
Guys. Yeah, doesn't it feel like you're in an endless battle? Sometimes you hear about, all the bad guys and what they want to do, and you're like, oh, I got to get all this software and safe practices and everything.
Yes.
And then you hear about like, well, if the bad guys don't get me, then my own government will, will get me. It's like
hard to win.
boy.
Well, and
But
you think about big companies like Target. If they aren't safe, then what are we supposed to do?
Exactly.
Yeah, so talk about that. I mean, it's not just those big companies, it's individuals.
And it feels, in some ways it's draining because every week I come on the show, I have a security story I could talk about. Like we could be talking about the new Heartbleed-like vulnerability that is out. It's been patched, it's been taken care of. There's a new one, came out. A lot of people don't realize Heartbleed, I didn't realize this at first, that Heartbleed was patched when the news hit. So the patch was already done, but the news hit and everybody ran with the news story and no one talked about that it was patched.
Yeah.
And so this time they didn't even talk about the vulnerability until they patched it, then they announced the patch. Little PR relations there. Or, I could talk about how the crypto locker guy that was locking up people's computers and stuff, the government shut down one of his networks. It's going to slow him down a little bit. It'll take him maybe a couple days to get back online again, a couple days. And then he'll begin extorting people again. But the bottom line is there are steps that we can take as individual people to secure our computers, and the threat over the years has changed dramatically.
It has evolved in the last few years alone. You feel like you can't outsmart these people.
It's bad when the good old days were when you got an email from a coworker that said, I love you, and then you're like, do you really love me? And she's like, what are you talking about?
Or there was a scam clearly out of Nigeria or someplace, and you knew better than to give your bank account information. Now stuff's happening. You knew better then, but now it's like stuff's happening and you don't even know that it's going on. You didn't go to that website. You didn't click on that email.
And just yesterday, this will freak you out, just yesterday, there was a news story about how a computer in the UK just passed the Turing test. And the Turing test is when you can fool 30% of the people who are interacting into the computer to think they're interacting with a human online. So a computer now has fooled 1/3 of the people. It was a 13-year-old boy because they said, 13-year-old boy doesn't know enough that if he gets something wrong, you're going to be like, well, he's 13. If you ask him history questions, you're not going to know that. And if you ask him silly questions, he should know all those, and the computer can easily do the silly questions. So they tricked everyone into thinking this thing was real. So the world that we live in, the good old days were back when you were getting email viruses and we could tell you, just don't open the attachments, and antivirus is enough, and then you needed a firewall, then you needed 360 degrees of protection, and now you need secure updater, and it's like there's always this evolving line of threats, but the bottom line is they don't want your computer anymore. They don't want your information, they don't want your social security number, they don't want your online banking details.
What do they want?
They just want access to your computer. Because when they have a major breach at some place like Target, for example, and they get all those credit card numbers, these guys are sick smart. I mean, they're really smart. They know if they just, make a bunch of clone cards and start shopping at Walmart, they're going to get caught. So what they do instead is they use your computer to take those stolen credit card numbers and convert them into goods that they can then resell and launder those goods, basically, for real cash.
A moment ago, we were looking at Secure Updater, and you mentioned that. Would you explain what that is and how does it help us keep our computers safe?
Over the last year and a half, the largest growing threat vector has been, the operating system now is much more, so much more secure than it was before. In fact, it's so secure that one of the security things I could talk about this week is there's a new vulnerability for Linux. The Linux kernel. Linux, the operating system that only techies use because it's free, it's open source, and it's the most secure thing on the planet, has a hole in it so wide you could drive a truck through it, and they got to patch it. So, with all these things going on, the biggest threat vector we've seen, because it's so hard to get into Windows computers, that the bad guys are looking at Macs and they're looking at Linux computers because it's hard to get through the new Windows security. The best way to get through it, though, is not to get through it, is to exploit a program like Java or Flash or Reader that you have on your computer that's out of date.
And Secure Updater does what to programs like Java?
Right, it will automatically and silently, this is the important part, it doesn't bug you, it automatically and silently installs the most recent updates for all these, like 32 of these common programs, everything from Skype and Dropbox and VLC Player, all the way up to the common ones like Java that everybody has, Flash that everybody has.
You need those
in
order
need them
to
if
use
you
your
want
computer.
Yeah, if you want to get on the internet and watch videos or have websites with menus, you need those two things. So basically, Secure Updater, every 8 hours, it checks to see if there's a new update, and then it downloads that update silently and automatically to your computer, much faster than even the program's own internal update engines that can take as long as 14 days to get you the patch.
So what's it take to get Secure Updater? How do you use download? Is it a download?
Well, yeah, it's a program. You can go to their website, secureupdater.com, and download. There's a 14-day free trial. And a lot of people are shocked when they download the free trial, and it says you've got 6 programs on your computer that are out of date. And we've had network administrators that are shocked how many programs are out of date on their workstations, because their job is to keep on top of that, and it makes them look really bad. So
there's so many programs out there.
And
How
I
do you
know
keep-
I'm not alone. And when I get those pop-ups that say you need to update, I don't have time. I don't even know if this is a legitimate
Yep, the
request.
bad guys are aware that these
so
things
you
pop
just
up.
ignore, and then all of a sudden you're vulnerable.
Yeah, if you've ever gone to a website and it says you need to update your media player to view the content of this page, and so it's not a bad site, it's not like a site your grandma would be ashamed of, you know. You're just trying to get something on the web, and so you click on the update thinking, oh, my Flash is out of date, but it's not Flash you're installing at all. It's a virus that
was
you're
a
choosing
ruse.
to install. So you don't have to pay attention to any of those pop-ups anymore. If they pop up, then you know it's fake, because Secure Updater's got your back.
Try that trial, because there's no cost to that. Then you can decide if you want to hold on to the subscription and keep
Yeah.
it going for the next year. If something does happen though, and you end up where your computer just crashes because the bad guys got a hold of it, you can get in touch with Thor and his team at 3 locations: Village Point, Papillion, and the original in Lincoln. Online at SchrockInnovations.com. Thor Schrock.
Well, thanks for having
You're
me,
the
guys.
man.
Thanks, Thor.
I appreciate it. And
Thank
hopefully
you.
people can keep their computers as safe as we reasonably can.
That's right.
It's one thing to not be like a super tech geek that's securing your network and doing everything else. It's another thing to know you need these basic protections and you just choose not to install them.
Yeah.
When that happens,
An easy way to do
Yeah,
it.
there's
Here.
things you can do.